Welcome back to Season 2 of Upstate and Litigate. I'm Derek Spada from Basch Keegan.
And I'm John DeGasperis. I'm also a partner at Basch Keegan. We're back with another season of Upstate and Litigate. Derek, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
We're back in the studio, but this is a new studio.
We are. New location. Well, actually, same location, but different studio in the old location.
I like the vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got like a little bit of a Hawaiian theme, a little bit of a retro theme. You could argue modern. It's cool. It's good. We needed a little change.
Different setup too. We're side by side instead of across from each other.
Oh, right. Didn't even realize that as we sat here. That was actually planned. We wanted that so that we were looking at the camera more. And but there's something a little bit different that we haven't talked about yet. Not the table, not the setup, not the studio. What's different, Derek? Tell them. We're winners, dude.
Oh, right. Winners, right. Sorry, I'm like, what's different? I don't know. We're winners.
You can tell it's our first time back.
Yeah, we're like a little rusty here.
Yeah.
But yeah, Season 1, which I thought was actually 2 seasons before just a moment ago. I realized it was only 1 season, but it felt like 2. But Season 1, we finished in second place in the Chronogrammys. So we were voted by local people, readers of the Chronogram, as the second best podcast in the entire Hudson Valley.
That was a surprise. I was honored. Thank you to everybody who voted, and good job to you. We did a good job there, huh?
It worked out. People actually are watching us, and that's wonderful.
It was slow to go. Like, we had a lot of learning to do.
Yeah.
It morphed over the course of time. We owe Marianne a big thank you.
Yeah.
She's been a big supporter. And,
thanks, Marianne.
And she's our disciplinarian, if you will.
Yeah, she keeps us in line.
And she gives us our little notes that Derek and I ignore. Although as we started this first podcast, we were like, Marianne, we need better notes.
Yeah. She gives us a nice, neat outline, and we really never follow it. But without the outline, we're lost.
Yeah. But Derek, reflecting back on the podcast, it's interesting because first of all, I think everybody agrees you and I are very different personalities, and I think that this show sort of highlights that. But we also we've been partners now for 6+ years. We've been working together for a long time, and we're a dynamic duo, if you will, and we do good practice. We do good law, and we know a lot. So this is a perfect platform for us to educate and show off our knowledge.
Yeah,
it's been an interesting ride. And so here we are, Season 2. I think we're going to change the format a little bit, right?
Yeah, we're changing the format a little bit. With Season 1, it seemed to be a bit longer than we meant for it to be each episode.
Yes, right.
So we're going to try to give shorten the episodes a little bit and try to do a little more polished job in Season 2 than we did in Season 1, although Season 1 went quite well.
Yeah, and I think we're off to a terrible start if that's going to be the new format because we are running loose here. No, yeah. But here we go. New season. We're still Upstate and Litigate. We're going to talk about all things law, primarily personal injury law, tort law, and policies and things that affect upstate New York, right?
Right.
All right. So with that much, we remain consistent.
And if there's a topic that you would like to hear us talk about, let us know. You can contact a firm or one of us anyway that you'd like, and let us know what you would want to hear us talk about. If you have questions that you want us to answer here on the podcast, let us know, and we'll get to that.
And also consider subscribing to the channel. That helps us a lot, and give it a follow. We hope you learn a lot. Today we're going to talk a little bit about legal advertising, which has gone through some really big changes over the course of the last 50 years or so, maybe better. It's a highly regulated industry, law as a profession, right? We have rules of professional conduct, court rules. There are laws. There's just a lot of rules. But attorney advertising is a regulated medium. So why don't we just highlight quickly some of those things that you can and cannot do, or things that you should be doing if you're a lawyer and want to advertise?
Sure. Well, you have to keep in mind certain ethical requirements. And years ago, I think before the 1970s, somewhere about there, lawyers were not allowed to advertise. So it was only word of mouth originally. So you couldn't advertise. And then the first form of, I'll call it mass advertising by lawyers, seemed to be in the phone book, which is how Eli Basch seemed to really get a hold of the personal injury practice when he started here in Kingston.
Through the phone book.
Through the phone book.
He was wise.
Yeah.
He spent that money.
Yeah.
He got the back. Then he had a huge insert. Then he had the tab and the magnet.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, he was a good lawyer and did great work and had a name for himself. But that phone book, I think, was the first form of mass, as you described, like large scale advertising in the Hudson Valley.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what worked for him. Of course, that doesn't work for us because the phone book doesn't exist anymore.
Perfect timing, Derek and John. Why don't you go become lawyers as the market becomes like flooded with all these different mediums, from internet to billboard, buses, you name it.
Yeah,
but you and I did come up when I started Basch Keegan. You had been there for 7 years or so already. When I started, the phone book was still very much impactful and was, I think, the predominant medium. Now that very quickly changed, but gosh, it was like every day that people would call and say, "I found you in the phone book."
Yeah, it was like 2/3 of our cases came from the phone book.
2/3, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And then the rest was just word of mouth because that was so impactful that Eli had helped you, and you, Maureen, and
past clients, friends, and relatives. Yeah,
that was crazy.
And now, now it's all
fractured,
diversified, and fractured, and it's hard to advertise, or I'll say it's harder because you've got so many means to advertise now.
And also I think the internet has allowed people from other regions and less qualified attorneys with a dollar to enter the market. But, I think one thing that people don't talk about is that the phone book advertising, the phenomenon there was it was a regionally based service, right? Because the phone book only went to certain borders. Now the internet has broken down borders, which in some ways is good because it allows us to find work in other places within the state, but it also allows people from other areas of the state to come into our neighborhood. So, but the good news is we don't lack for work.
No, it's
plenty of work.
Busy, so that's good.
Now, there are certain rules about attorney advertising that the rules of professional conduct